Hello and welcome to SULKNATIONtv. In this video we're going to be looking at my daily. That's right, a Volkswagen Golf 1.6 Tdi. What features does my daily have? What features does this Golf 1.6 Tdi carry with it? Well, I've got automatic windscreen wipers that don't work. I've got automatic headlights that do work. I have manually adjustable seats. I've got an infotainment system that doesn't carry anything like Apple CarPlay. It's got a 5-speed gearbox. It's got aircon that works intermittently. It's got my child's car seat in the back. It's got good boot space. It's very comfortable. And if I hadn't remapped it, which I have, it would be the most boring thing anybody could ever drive. Oh, police car. Police car. Something's going down in Exeter. As I was saying, without that remap, this car would have been so monotonous to drive that I don't think I would have driven as many miles in it. So it came out of the factory with 105 brake horsepower and 150 Newton meters of torque. And after getting it remapped, it was 165 brake horsepower and about 250 foot-pounds of torque. And whether those figures are exact or not, the difference was night and day. It really was. The difference was incredible. It went from being a very sluggish diesel until you've got momentum into a wheel-spinning demon from hell. So having that remap done really was night and day. It made the car far more entertaining. It's a comfortable car, and Golfs are known for their handling, to be perfectly fair, and I've driven a couple and the handling has been great. So with the handling and that additional power, it's made this car really, really worthwhile to own. With it being a 1.6 and remapped, I get about 56 miles to the gallon, and I do a lot of driving for my job, so you know, it's far more cost effective than my Mini, far more. It's done 138,272 miles whilst I'm filming right now, and I still haven't replaced the clutch, although it is being done at the end of the month because it is beginning to die, and with each drive it's that little bit more dead. More police. So I got the Golf about 3 years ago with 63,000 miles on the clock. It's a 63 plate, so it was significant mileage for a car relatively young. But 3 years later, I've done a lot of mileage and it hasn't missed a beat. It's fuel efficient. It's not had any major problems. I mean, there's been wear and tear things replaced. I'm surprised the clutch hasn't gone already with the way I drive it. I drive it like I stole it, and from that point of view, I'm surprised it's not dead. But you know, maybe that's newer modern technology. That's a 63 plate car as opposed to my Mini, which is an 05. It features 16-inch wheels, which for a car of this size look tiny. So I have to go for slightly thicker sidewalls because otherwise the arch gap is not something I could live with. And with it being my daily, I've not got any plans to put it on coilovers. Although if I get a different daily and I keep this, and I probably would, I'd put some new wheels on it as well for sure. But essentially, it's a great car just to drive. As the Americans would say, a highway cruiser. It's not quite a Grand Tourer because it's not grand in any way, but it does do the job. It's a smooth drive, and in my time of owning it, I've been really, really happy with the fact that it hasn't had any problems really at all. Although it has had some. Now, my seatbelt sometimes doesn't pull back out once it's coiled itself back up, so that's a nightmare. And a lot of the time it can take me up to 10 minutes to get strapped in. And with the feature that this car has of the handbrake, which is an electronic handbrake, doesn't come off unless you're strapped in. And I can't seem to stop that from happening in the menus of the entertainment system. It's a bit of a ball ache. This Golf definitely has the now standard in Volkswagen cars sound to make it sound better system. So I always run it in sport because it makes the throttle a little bit more responsive, and it does pump in some noise into the cabin that makes the car sound far sportier than it actually is. And that's one of my biggest gripes, is the fact that the exhaust is too small, the wheels are too small, and there's a lot of untapped potential in this car. As I said, it's a 1.6 TDI. But this engine has been faultless so far. Just joining the M5. Oh, and there's an R53 behind me, that's quite cool. As I was saying, this engine has been faultless so far, and the remap made such a difference to the performance of this car that I don't know why Volkswagen don't release it from the factory like this. I get that there's the you know, it's zero tax because it's a diesel and its carbon emissions aren't particularly high or all that jazz. But if I'm getting better miles to the gallon with the remap, then that means that there's less CO2 going into the air. I'm not a professional on emissions. I don't want the world to die, but I like driving petrol and diesel powered cars. I don't know what to say. But it does seem that surely I'm getting more miles to the gallon with the remap. Surely I am. But I don't know why the performance of this car would be so staid from the factory when with a little remap that cost a couple of £100, it makes it completely different. So what's negative about owning a 1.6 litre TDI? Well, it's only a 1.6. It's got a turbo, but the turbo's small. It doesn't have the pull or the smiles for miles that the R53 has. It's far more sedate. I think, you know, a remap 2-litre version of it would probably be great. You're talking about a GTD essentially. But I mean, this is only about 20 brake horsepower for TDD that I can't prove. But it is. But I can't prove it, but it is. So shut up. There's not many negatives at all. For my daily driving, this is a perfect car. And I like driving it. It's got a flat bottom steering wheel, which I do quite like. But what's it like living with it day in, day out? I've mentioned the remap, I've mentioned the fuel economy, I've mentioned the comfort. It could do with a few more options. I mean, my 05 plate R53's got more options than this car, which is surprising, considering this is 8 years younger. But it's one of those things, isn't it, with cars, different manufacturers. My R53 was clearly, you know, had the majority of options you could pick on it. It's got a heated windscreen, for instance. This car doesn't. The automatic windscreen wipers still work on the R53, but in this car they don't. But then this car's done 31,000 miles more and is 8 years younger. So, you know, let's give it some wear and tear. The driving experience day to day is as you'd expect. It's sedate when I want it to be, and it's almost ASBO levels of lunacy when I want it to be as well. It all depends on the car, the way that you drive it, and how much you trust your ability to drive a car to its limits. I do like diesel engines, I really do. The torque behind the diesel engine is excellent. I love it. And I've driven more powerful diesel cars with bigger engines, more horsepower, more torque. And the torque is always the thing that, you know, pulls you back in your seat. This car has so much torque from that remap that it just pulls you up a hill and you're going faster and faster and faster. You don't have to put your foot down to really get the benefits of what this car has to give. It's not as engaging as other cars, but then the amount of miles I do in it, I don't want it to be overly engaging. I want it to be able to be drivable. I want to be able to put the power down when it needs to and sit back and relax and enjoy a drive when I'm done. So in the first 18 months of ownership of this car, I did have some moments of bad luck. Not mechanically. Mechanically, it's been faultless. But externally, the external features of the car, the luck hasn't been in my favour. Now, the driver's wing mirror has been broken off twice. The first time definitely wasn't my fault. I was living in a village in Devon, and somebody down a lane that was about a car and a half wide decided that they'd hooned down that lane and didn't wait for me to wait and smashed it off with their car and carried on driving, which isn't ideal. The second time definitely was my fault, and I essentially overcooked reversing into a parking space next to a pillar and smashed it off with a pillar, which was really annoying and all my fault. So I couldn't direct my anger at anybody other than myself, and boy was there a lot of anger, because it was about 6 weeks after I'd had it smashed off by somebody else. Woo! After that, I had another issue, and that was impatience. Let's say impatience. It was 100% my fault. I was getting annoyed with the car in front of me in a car park, a multi-storey car park in Exeter, and they just were being so indecisive about how they were going to park, where they were going to park, the method of how they were going to park in the space. And I started getting more and more annoyed. And then they finally parked, and again I overcooked it going up a ramp, took the turn out of the ramp onto that next floor too quickly and too close to the concrete sidewall and beached the car. So the rocker panel underneath the driver's door is dented. Now it's a rather large dent. It's not a particularly deep dent. It's quite wide, but in a body shop it would clearly just be a pull it back out sort of job. I haven't had that done because you can't notice it. Other than that 18 months and then general wear and tear items, excluding the seatbelt, this car has been a joy to own. Now, would I get another relatively small engine diesel as a daily? No. And not because this car isn't great, because it is. I wouldn't do that because I'd go for a 2 litre. I think the GTD, if I was going to stick to Golfs, which I probably would, the GTD would be the one that I'd pick as my next daily. So basically, yeah, you know, I would buy another variant of a Golf. Would I recommend other people buying, you know, a Mk7 Golf, which this is? Yes, I would. I think as a daily, you've got a very reliable, a very capable car. And if you go for a slightly better model, like the 2 litre version or the GTD, just for all of the fun, you know, you've got a daily that you can also weekend of it, then I'd 100% say, yeah, go for it. So that's my daily, a Volkswagen Golf 1.6 TDI that's been remapped and tinted out and is actually quite a nice car. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more, then check out the SULKNATIONtv YouTube channel, turn on notifications, subscribe, please, like it, comment, tell me what your daily is. And until the next time, I've been me, you've been you, and well done for that.